Hey everyone, and welcome to 121 in Flux. I am Peter, that is Connor, and this is our movie podcast where we talk about films, typically from the past, although sometimes we do some more recent stuff too. The focus of this show has kind of shifted a little bit since we created another podcast that kind of stole some of the content. So this has morphed into more prestigious films and...
if
some
it
other
means
stuff.
I don't have to watch The Gift again, I'm okay with that.
The Gift?
Don't know what it was called.
I don't know what you're talking. Oh no, that's still. I mean, that's not a sci-fi movie, so that's still.
No, I know, but it's not prestigious either. So, you know.
I mean, it's not a hard rule. We'll still do some shit. I mean, we still have to finish the Godzilla movies. We're not giving up on those. We've gotten halfway through.
But that's prestigious.
Well, the first one is prestigious. I don't know about the rest.
It's an iconic franchise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but also more recent stuff too. Because in fact, the vote that's up on Patreon right now at the time of recording is 4 films from 2019 that's on my to watch list. So you get one of them as a review.
I'm really disappointed in you actually.
Why?
Because you didn't run this by me this time, and I actually had a great idea for what it should have been.
Well, we could do your idea next month. Was it specific to November?
No, but it's specific to what we would have done in December.
Was it Christmas related?
No, better than that. Come on, me suggest Christmas. We could have because December is the last month of the decade, so we could have done 4 from the decade.
That's a lot of movies to pick from.
Yeah, I know, but it's you could have done one from every couple of years, and and you blew it.
No, I'm glad I went with my idea. It's fine.
You blew it.
But this was a vote as well. This movie that we're doing today, Shadow of a Doubt, the Alfred Hitchcock film from 1943. So it's a bit earlier in Hitchcock's career than we've maybe tackled before. And although not, I mean, he's actually got even earlier stuff than this. He goes all the way back to the 20s. But 1943's Shadow of a Doubt, which Hitchcock, according to the making of documentary on the Blu-ray disc, it says it's his favourite film that he made.
Really?
Because it says the making of Hitchcock's favourite film. I think it's the title of the documentary. And I'm sure I watched that extra like way back when it was on like the original DVD I had 15 years ago, but I don't remember anything they said, so I can't tell you now.
So it's irrelevant, yeah.
But if that's true, then that's interesting. But this was a vote winner. We had 4 Hitchcock movies up for vote in this particular one. Because we were on hiatus for a bit, we're doing some catch up where we've got a few vote winners to get through, which is why it's those back to back. We'll start picking some movies when we get through those. Maybe go back to the vault and do some other interesting wacky stuff, and maybe
we'll come up with some ideas.
Godzilla movie or whatever. Yes, well, I'll come up with some ideas and you will accept them.
Hey,
and
I have ideas. Just give you a cracking one, and you just.
That was not a cracking one. That was not narrow at all. We'll do 4 movies from the decade.
That is a specific focus. You're celebrating the end of the decade. It was perfect, and you just.
Yeah, but we're picking 4 films for the decade that we've not seen. The idea that we're filling in some blanks, or we're doing 4 favourites. If we're doing 4 favourites, then it kind of maybe almost ruins the top 50 of the decade that we're going to do.
It would have been 4 we haven't seen.
Okay. All right.
Too late now, though.
Well, Joe, so what's great about this is that 4 movies from 2019 are 4 movies from the decade. So technically, the vote's fine. So suck it.
It's the spirit that counts. The spirit of the vote.
Well, actually, suck it, Connor's become something of a running gag on the Atomic Cinema Experiment. I'm not going to
lie. Which one of you started it?
Tara started it, and then I liked it so much that I kept going with it.
We'll be having some words with Tara.
So we're doing Shadow of a Doubt, and we'll start spoiler free as we always do. We'll give you a warning in the middle of the film, the middle of the episode is what I mean, before we go into spoilers, so you can avoid should you wish. But it is from 1943, so I mean, go. It's a Hitchcock movie. Go watch the Hitchcock movie, you fools. So I mean, don't get me wrong. Yes, he had a weak period at the end of his career, admittedly. But pretty much everything before that period, you're at least getting something decent, if not amazing. I mean, so
at the very least, it'll be watchable.
Yes. But there's that rough patch of his career after The Birds. Because Frenzy's pretty good. That's like the one outlier in that period. But everything after The Birds, except Frenzy, is really weak sauce. And that includes Marnie, which I know some people like, but I didn't like Marnie. Torn Curtain was forgettable, and Family Plot.
There's a reason they're not classics.
Yeah, well, they're always in the box set. The one I've got, like they're all at the end, and it's like here's a little crap section at the end that no one really likes.
That's
that
what
much.
It is. That they've got. Well, we had 14 good movies that we could get the rights to. Let's just throw in another 4 to pad it out, so it sounds even more impressive.
Yeah, well, at the same time, though, I'm glad they're there for completion's sake. You might as well.
Oh yeah. They should exist, in terms of cataloging them. I'm not arguing that.
But definitely a quality dip after The Birds. Again, barring Frenzy, which is actually pretty good. That was kind of his last hurrah, I think. But anyway, Shadow of a Doubt is about a seedy... we don't really find out till later on, but I don't think it's a spoiler to say he's a killer, right? We'll just say he's a killer who is on the run, and he decides to go and visit his family in California. He goes to live with his sister and her family, and his niece, who's actually named after him, Charlie, she is like so excited because she thinks life's been really boring, and she's all excited that he's coming to brighten things up. But he's on the run, of course, and he's very suspicious of anyone who wants to talk to him or take his photo or anything like that. And it's kind of about, is his presence going to infect their lives and put them in harm's way? And that's kind of the premise. I'll just leave it there, and we'll go from there. Now, had you seen this before? Actually, before we even get to...
No, I hadn't.
You hadn't seen it, okay. I'd seen it once or twice. I remember... I think when I had the DVDs, it wasn't a box set. I think I was just gradually buying, the single movies back in the DVD days when I first seen a lot of this stuff. But the Blu-ray, I've got the big box set, obviously. But
yeah, now there's box sets for everything that covers large portions of a lot of these directors' careers.
There probably was a box set. I probably just didn't want to risk it, not knowing if I'd like them or not. Because this wasn't the first Hitchcock movie I bought, but it was probably in the first maybe half dozen or so. It wasn't, and by that point I'd already had some of what was in the box set, so I was like, no, I need to keep buying them individually.
That's always a problem.
Movie buying logic, folks. Movie buying logic. So yes, did you enjoy Shadow of a Doubt?
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's definitely not my favorite Hitchcock, but it's pretty good.
It's Hitchcock's favorite Hitchcock.
I know, that's why I said that, because I'm a little surprised by that. Because it's solid. It's good. I don't love it though. I've got some things to complain about.
I like it a lot. And it's not it's not my favorite. I think you've got your Rear Window, you've got your Psycho. That I'd put up. I have a hard time kind of ranking them after that, but that's definitely what I always say is number 1 and 2.
You're not alone in that, though, are you?
Probably not. But I also have some different opinions where I think Vertigo's really good, but I think it's overrated and is not it's a lot of people would put Vertigo in the top 3, and I wouldn't. That's fair. I would say Vertigo's around the number 10 spot out of what I've seen, which is still good. Hitchcock made a lot of good movies, alright? So even number 10 is really good.
You can do a top 10 Hitchcock movies, and they can all be great.
Yes, absolutely, they are. And I've not even seen them all. I've seen maybe I don't know. I've seen 16 or 18, something in that range, Hitchcock movies, and I can do a top 10, and they're all great. There's only a few at the bottom that I don't like. So clearly, we're not here to debate if Hitchcock was a worthwhile director to talk about, because clearly he is. He's probably...
Is this the second Hitchcock movie we've done on this show?
Yeah, on this show, yeah. We did Psycho on Screams recently, so this is the third sort of in general. But
of course, yeah.
And that's the only one we'll do in Scream. Everything else will be on this show, because they're all... Well, maybe The Birds, actually. The Birds might be a Screams movie, but the rest are all...
Safe for this.
For this, yeah. So I like this one a lot. I think... I would put it above Vertigo, just to sort of put it there. I think the other one
that's quite a bold claim.
The other one that I'm not super in love with that does get a lot of praise, and I think it's a fine movie, but again, I'd probably put it lower than Vertigo, is North by Northwest. I think that one's just okay. But people seem to love it, and that's fine. Love what you love, taste and all that. But for me, it's definitely the lower tier. I think Shadow of a Doubt is better than that, and I think Shadow of a Doubt is really fun in how simple and nefarious it is. I think Charlie,
which one?
I'll call him Uncle Charlie. There's Charlie and Uncle Charlie for differentiation's sake, right? So Charlie's the girl, Uncle Charlie's Uncle Charlie. So Uncle Charlie is despicable. He does not have a redeemable bone in his body, and I kind of love that, because I think a premise, a way to make this movie, a way to write this story, I think, and this wouldn't be a bad thing to do, this could work really well, but a way to write this story would be to have him be kind of sympathetic and like really question, is he actually a bad guy? Sure, he's on the run, so he's done bad stuff, but is he irredeemable? Is he this despicable? But in this movie, he is like despicable through and through. There's not a moment where you doubt that he might actually care about people, that he won't just throw everyone under the bus the second that he thinks that he needs to survive on his own. He is a despicable human being, and it's so much fun watching him be evil.
I agree that is quite fun, but I also I kind of wish that there was at least some moments where there was doubt at all as to, you know, whether or not he is so terrible.
Shadow of a doubt, you might say.
Exactly. But I think that's pretty much one of my biggest problems with the movie is there is no surprise at any point. It does exactly what you think it's going to do the entire time, and it always turns out exactly as it seems.
Okay, that's fair. There's no kind of like turn, I guess, but it's executed flawlessly from start to finish. Well, I have one nitpick actually. I have one nitpick in the middle. There's a weird transition at one point where I feel like I almost wonder if they shot a scene and cut it because there was something wrong with it, and they just kind of had to go with it and just leave it missing because it felt like there was like a whole chunk missing of a scene. It's a minor thing really in the grand scheme of the movie because you understand what's happening, but like it felt jarring. But no, I like how despicable it is. I think there's definitely some, you know, stuff from the time period that's dated, and you know, like I think the way Charlie idolizes her uncle feels really weird to a modern audience. Like it's so over the top. Obviously you have kids who idolize either their uncles and aunties or their parents' friends, even, you know, kind of the adults who aren't their parents, so they seem cooler. Like that's kind of a common thing for kids. But this is the thing. She's like 20, right? she's college aged. Like they make that very clear. She's at least graduated high school because there's a photo of her graduating, like on the wall, and we hear that people she went to school with, like have jobs because they go to a bar at one point and the waitress is like, "Oh yeah, I got fired from this place. I've been in half the restaurants in town," implying she's been like going from job to job for a while, which means that she's at least been a few. I mean, maybe if Charlie was in college, say, you know, that this girl didn't go to college, so she's just been working for like 4 years. You know, maybe that's why there's a.
I think there is a potential implication that she's been that terrible. She only lasts like a few weeks at each place.
That's fair. It could just be like 3 months, and she's been in that many places. That's entirely possible.
Which I think could be part of the joke there.
Yeah, because it then made me actually question Charlie a little bit. I'm like, yeah, what is Charlie doing exactly? Like, is she like maybe she's still in college and she's
sponging off her parents? This
is the summer or something like that. But it just kind of felt like she doesn't really do anything like at all. Like what was she? Is she? Yeah. Maybe there's a line at the start saying she's just on summer break or whatever, and I missed it, and she's in college still. I don't
recall that either, though.
But and that would be fine. But it kind of felt like she's like, everything's so boring. Oh, Uncle Charlie's coming. That'll make everything brighter. Because every time she runs into her friends, it feels like her friends like have jobs to go to or they have things to do. And all she does is like lounge around the house, and then like, oh, my uncle's here. I can go and hang out with my uncle. He's cool. I'm like, what is your life? What were you doing?
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
What's happening? And she's got her little sister and brother. The little sister's kind of your. I mean, it probably wasn't at the time, but definitely now it's a bit of an archetype. It's the really brainy kid who's much more mature than like everyone else.
Kind of funny though.
Yeah, kind of funny. She has a couple of really funny lines.
The brother I forgot existed for most of the movie. He
doesn't have much to do. He's just kind of there to be the other kid, for the most part. So he's just kind of around. And I like her dad. Her dad and his friend have this running thing throughout the movie where they like murder mysteries and like, you know, true crime and stuff like that. So they're basically constantly debating with each other how they'd kill each other and try and get away with it. And that's kind of their running thing throughout the movie, which comes into play eventually in the main plot and thematically at least.
At that point, I won't discuss it yet. But the mother's reaction is hilarious.
Yeah, she's got a good moment. Yeah,
it's brilliant.
Yeah, so no, and the mother's fine. The mother's not particularly likable or dislikable. She's there to serve her purpose. She's
pretty much,
you know, she's the housewife who loves her brother and would be heartbroken if anything ever nasty was ever said about him. And unfortunately for her, something may or may not occur. So I mean that's kind of your cast of characters. And I think, I mean, as always with Hitchcock, the direction is basically flawless. There's such simple things. Like at the start of the movie, when we first meet Charlie, Uncle Charlie, he's in like a motel or a hotel or whatever, and this landlady or whoever comes in to see him, and she's like, "Hey, there was two men asking for you," and he's like, "Oh," and he's like on the bed, and like she's like, "Hey, you shouldn't leave your money lying around. Like he's got money, kicking about on the floor and all the rest of it." But there's a great moment where she goes to shut the blinds because he's going to have a nap, and it's just this great shot of because obviously it's in black and white, it's 1943. Not that, I mean, some color stuff did exist in 1943, but for the record, it's black and white, and we see just the light go down his face into darkness. It's a really simple thing, but it's just a sinister shot of him lying there.
Yeah, it looks great.
It's just a little visual thing just to tell you he's the villain, just in case you didn't get it yet. He's villainous, and just little touches like that throughout it are really good. So
yeah, no, I agree. It's a lot of fun. I think there's some stuff it doesn't capitalize on super well. There's like these elements of the two Charlies kind of being in sync.
Sure, yeah.
And I don't think it really plays with that enough. Like early on, she's gonna go, "Oh, I'm gonna go send a telegram with Charlie. Let's invite him up." But he's already just sent one to say he's coming. And there's a few other things like where she's humming a tune, and and it becomes quite important to who Uncle Charlie is. And she's like, "I wonder why I'm humming that tune." And again, it's just these things that it never really does anything with them, which is a little disappointing.
I think, and the purpose for me at the start is kind of like this is his match, right? Like he doesn't realize it yet, but this is the person who's actually capable of taking him down because she has the same strength he does, even though she's not evil, right? Kind of thing. Like that was kind of the vibe I get from it. And I kind of love that the way she kind of stumbles in to like being on his trail and kind of starting to realize who he is and figuring things out. It just comes from her trying to prove she's smart enough to notice when he's lying. Not because she thinks he's hiding something like serious, but because she wants to prove that she's that smart. That she wants to impress him. And it's through trying to impress him. It's through that idealism that she ends up stumbling into, oh shit, he's this or whatever.
Yeah.
And I like that. I like that that's what it leads to. It's kind of like when we watched The Lady Killers and we were talking about how the whole crux of that movie is that the old woman just like keeps foiling these robbers' plans, not because she even knows what they're doing, because she's just being an old woman. And I kind of love that this young woman just being her is what kind of starts to foil the whole plan.
Okay, I can see that. It's kind of fun.
So I was kind of into it. Obviously, it's not played for as much humor in this as it was in Lady Killers.
Yeah, that movie's hilarious.
That movie was great. Yeah, I was surprised how much that held up.
Yeah,
that quickly became my favorite after that viewing.
That was a surprise.
Yeah. So no, I really like Charlie. I think she's very likable. It has some other tropes. I was laughing how like people were sending telegrams to each other because like that's never happened in my lifetime. People don't do that.
yeah, surreal, but I mean, sure, you just go with it.
Yeah. I also there was a point. What was it? Someone was talking about something that was like new technology, and they were really like saying, "Oh, this is new and fancy." And
are you thinking of when the mother's on the phone and she's shouting, and the kid's like, "You don't need to shout on the phone. This is just how it works." It's fine.
I think so. Yeah, it may have been that. But I was just sitting going, "This is really funny now." Watching this, like 80 years later, and I'm like, "This is."
You know what you say? It's funny. Yeah. Paige's grandmother will still shout down the phone, like loud enough that I can be sat like on the other side of the room to Paige, and I can hear every word she's saying on the phone. It's that loud.
Yeah, I mean that's fair. That's fair.
Phones have been around a while now.
Yeah, the other trope that's kind of an old timey thing. That, I mean, I'm still not necessarily sure if this is just a movie trope of the era or if it was actually anything like this in real life at the time. I assume it was really olden times, but the whole thing where someone falls in love with a girl and within a week they're saying, "Hey, I love you, I want to marry you." Like,
Yeah, well, I think there was an area around the war when, yes, absolutely, that was happening a lot.
Sure, okay.
Because people were terrified.
All right, okay. I see. But I'm not just thinking during the wartime, though. I'm thinking like anything pre, like 50s and back. Like there's a lot of those movies, like movies that we even set in the past, and maybe that's accurate. Maybe back in like the 17th century, that's just how it was. Like a man found a woman and he's like, I want to marry you, and
well, no, in the 17th century, a man found a woman that went to a dad and went, "Here's 6 sheep. Now give me your daughter."
Okay, yes, possibly more accurate. But if that was Wales, the 6 sheep would have been quite enticing. That'd have been a good price.
That's an amazing bargain.
I am sorry to our Welsh listeners.
I'm not.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I made a sheep shagging joke. I'm sorry. All right.
It's the one thing that unites the English and the Scottish.
What's the thing though? Like, there's no ill will towards the Welsh. We just like joking about them having sex with sheep for some reason.
I don't even know where it came from. It's just, yeah, that's a thing the Welsh do.
Anyway, so yeah, that's kind of a spoiler-free thoughts on the movie.
I have one, just a technical quibble at one point.
Sure.
Because again, we don't judge. The sound quality, for example. I don't expect it to be modern standards because
it's an old movie. Yeah, it's got the pop and the crackle, and it's got.
I'm judging it just against itself. There is one scene in particular that was dreadful. It was when Charlie goes to the telegram place.
Yes.
And I don't know what was going on there. The dubbing was off. It sounded washed out. It had that sort of effect where when you want to record someone's voice and you want to do it as if they just think it's their thoughts rather than and not narration, just you want to do their thoughts while they're still in the scene. It kind of had that effect to it, but on both characters, and they were obviously talking, but that's what it sounded like, and it was weird because obviously the rest of the movie was fine. It was just this one scene.
I have to just imagine there was something on set, and maybe so I don't know, maybe they're dubbing. Just there was something wrong with it.
Yeah, I have no idea what happened. But I just wanted to point out because again, let's say just against its own standards, that scene was kind of terrible for that.
I mean, that's probably the sort of thing they just go and reshoot now. That'd be the reshoots. But I wonder if that wasn't just a common thing they did at the time. It's just you just have to accept it.
Yeah,
there's no more money.
Might well be.
Just deal with it.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the worst. You can still understand everything they're saying, so it doesn't ruin it. Just had a strange effect, and it kind of completely took me out of it.
That's fair. All right, so we'll give the spoiler warning, but I will, before we go into spoilers, tell you about patreon.com/MailFuzzTV. We have producers from there, which I'm going to thank first of all. So very much thanks to David Short, Alison M. Fordas, Cindy Palacios, Tyler Hess, and Talking Superman. They're all Patreon producers, which means there are patrons at the $20 or up tier. But of course, you don't have to give $20 to support us. You can do it for as little as $1 over at patreon.com/MailFuzzTV, and you can support us for that. You can get some bonuses. You get like cut outtakes of various tangents we may have had during some episodes. There's an exclusive extra episode of some of the other movie podcasts we do, like The Ace and Screams After Midnight. And then there's like voting rights at the $5 tier. In fact, that's what this episode came from. This is the winner of a vote on Patreon. So go and have a look.
And you could have been voting on movies from the last decade, but guess just 2019 instead.
All 4 2019 movies are movies from the last decade, so so they still are. You can shut your ginger face and accept it. So suck it, Connor. This takes us on to spoilers then. So spoilers for Shadow of a Doubt. So obviously he comes to town. Everyone's delighted to see him. He's brought them all gifts. The sort of the smoking gun, as it were, is a ring that he gives Charlie. Uncle Charlie does, and it's got initials on the inside. So when she eventually goes to track down this bit of the newspaper, because he makes a point of stealing part of the newspaper. He's got this whole thing. He makes a game of it and makes a little house. And it's like, oh, that's my dad's newspaper. You can't do that. But he's swiped the one page that he needs that is relevant to his run. Because we find out over the course of the film that he is actually the Merrow Widow killer. He's been killing rich widows.
Merry Widow.
What did I say?
You said Merrow.
Well, no, I didn't really. It maybe sounded like that. Merry Widow.
Yeah. No, you definitely said Merrow Widow.
Oh, it just came out weird, but I said Mary. I was intending Mary. All right.
That's fine. I just wanted to make it clear.
Right, he's the Merry Widow killer. And he's killed three widows, and he's on the run. That's why he's got so much money. One of the things that really stuck out to me, actually, about his sister, is later on. So there's these two guys who we find out are detectives that are impersonating like a census like sort of thing, where they're coming to like interview the family to do like a profile on the average American family, so they can build an article out of it with other places around the country, blah blah. And when they're asking about the uncle Charlie to his sister, to the mum, like, not only just in this scene but in other scenes as well, she just keeps saying, "Oh, he's in business. I mean, my husband's a banker, but my brother's just in business. As men are." She doesn't know what he does, but she just accepts that.
Yeah.
He's got 40 grand, which, in 1943 money is quite. I mean, it's still a lot now. I mean, I'd love to have 40 grand, but
I'll take it.
But in 1943, that's what, over 100 probably now in today's money.
Comfortably, yeah.
Yeah. So he's opening up a bank account and he's cracking all these jokes about embezzlement. Which is making
and how the dad, he'll have the boss's job soon. Just keep at it in front of the boss.
Yeah. Yeah, he's really shaking, making waves, I suppose, is what we'll say. But he, so I thought it was funny that she just accepts that he's in business in this vague term. She can't actually say what he does. He's like, oh, a bit of this, a bit of that. Like, someone question him, damn it. Everyone's got a job title. Ask him what he does.
He's an entrepreneur.
Yeah, entrepreneur. So basically, she sneaks. She goes to the because it's from a little sister who's smart. Remember, who tells her, "Oh, you can get all the newspapers at the library, all the old ones. You can go and check whatever page it was." So she insists on going late on because she must know, because she gets suspicious.
Librarian's not too happy about this.
No, she's not. But there's been enough, little moments with them that she's suspicious. And she goes and finds this article about the killer. And this is the thing, it almost made him more suspicious that he hid it, because if her dad just read this in the paper and didn't think anything twice about it, it wouldn't be any big deal.
Why would they have suspected him?
Yeah, exactly. There wasn't anything really specific to really point to him.
There was no picture of him, because that's a big, point that they don't have. They maybe have a description in the article, but I mean, it's pretty vague.
Yeah, because I'd argue what would maybe happen is, if so one of the detectives kind of takes a liking to Charlie and asks her out, and they go out on a date, and arguably this is where it would still connect, where he would maybe say what one of the victims' names was, and then that'd maybe click the initials on the ring, like that she's got.
Sure.
That'd be where she actually gets proper confirmation. I'm not really complaining that much, because I actually enjoy her suspicions. I enjoy her going to find out. I enjoy the entire sequence of events. So just it
just plays like it's unnecessary from a logical perspective.
I'm just critiquing him. Well, no, I think logically it works in terms of I can understand why he's making mistakes. Okay. It makes sense that he's tense. He's he thinks he's good at what he does, but he's actually kind of sloppy. He's actually kind of single-minded.
Yeah, I think that's my problem with saying that he's tense and making mistakes, is he's so relaxed the entire time. Even his introduction scene when they're coming and going, hey, there's two men here for you, and he's so relaxed.
Okay, let me rephrase then. Tense and making mistakes is maybe not the right way of phrasing it. He's got hubris. He's got an ego. He thinks he's good at this, and he's making mistakes through perhaps neglect is a better way of phrasing it. Because he likes to play it off like he's the most suave person in the room. He likes to play it off like he's smarter than everyone else. But he constantly is failing, because every time someone finds out something, his basic idea is to kill them. And when he gets to the point where he wants to kill Charlie, I'm like, well, don't you think, even though at this point in the movie you think that they've caught the other guy, because there was two suspects, right? And the other guy, and I actually loved this, he used to say the dad and his friend, her walking and talking about it, it's like, oh, did you hear about that Mary Widow killer? Yeah, they caught the guy in Missouri, and he went into an airplane jet. And obviously I'm thinking of a couple of different things I've seen that in, and I'm like, oh, that's gruesome. Oh, I couldn't have wrote a better ending. They're really impressed. They're like, oh, that's great.
Yeah, they're loving it.
Yeah, and Uncle Charlie thinks he's off scot-free. He's like, oh, great. Which means the only person who can cause him any trouble is Charlie, because at this point in the movie she knows that he did it, and he's admitted it to her.
Yeah, but the problem is, why is anyone going to believe her when they've caught the guy? It's problem solved.
The ring.
Well, I mean, sure, yeah.
Yeah, that ring's proof. And he's getting away with it. And again, one of the things that the detective says to her is that he believes that she's a good enough person that she won't cover for him. The idea, deep down, she knows it's not right to let him away with it. So that's kind of the moral conflict for her. And kind of the thing that Uncle Charlie is questioning once we get to this point in the movie. The one complaint I was going to make, though, is actually during the sort of date scene. It's kind of it's a little montage of them like having a good time. They're at like a movie theater, they're doing something else, and then it just sort of fades to them in like a sort of town square area, and she's mad at him for like lying to her. So we actually skip over the moment where he tells her he's a detective.
Yeah.
Or where she figures it out. We skip over that moment and she's already mad at him. And I felt like we kind of missed a beat. I'm like, wait, whoa. Like, what? So all I can think is that there was more of a scene before that for some reason couldn't be used.
Maybe. I mean, the problem is this does work in context. Even as it flows, maybe it's a bit jarring to us, but it does work in the sense that, okay, we had this montage, time's passing, and then she's angry, and we're like, why is she angry? And then, okay, we learn he's a detective. So we're a little bit behind her, but it still all makes sense.
I just played a little bit. It was jarring. I just thought it was a bit weird. But that's my only real complaint, to be honest. So the back chunk of the movie is basically Uncle Charlie, while he's pretending everything's okay, is trying to kill Charlie in ways that look like an accident, which is kind of ties into the running joke of the dad and his friend. And actually, what I really like about this is, like, the dad's friend seems like such a random addition, even though I really enjoy all of his scenes, because when he comes over and like the family's having dinner and the mum's like, oh, he always comes when we're eating, and he comes over and sits like behind the table and he's talking to the dad, and the dad's kind of leaning away from the table, and I'm like, yeah, no wonder the mum's pissed. Like, she's just distracting her husband throughout dinner. But
what I love with this is obviously that's where Charlie freaks out. It's like, stop talking about it. It's horrific. And
because at this point she's sort of figured out who Uncle Charlie is, and is like all these morbid conversations are making her really tense. Yeah.
But the mum's just like, oh, Charlie, calm down. This is just what your dad does to relax. You know this. Like, this has been going on for years.
And I love because all the conversations, like, at first it's like, oh well, the best thing is the blunt object, of course. It's like, yeah, but I don't like the fingerprint angle. What about poison? You could probably poison someone, just put enough. And then the next time we see them, it's like, hey, did you enjoy that cup of coffee I gave you? He's like, yeah, it was nice. Did you not notice the the little something I put in it? And he's like, no. And it was something safe, but that just shows I could have put the same amount of poison in and you wouldn't have tasted it. You could be dead right now.
Yeah. And he's like, yeah, but there's always the chance that someone innocent will drink it. Yeah, unintended consequences.
Yeah. So they're going back and forth. It's great.
Yeah, no, their stuff is just so amusing throughout.
Yeah, and it comes into play because at one point there's sort of like a back staircase, so you can go from the upstairs to the outside directly if you want from this house, and Charlie's like going down the stairs and she like has a fall because one of the steps breaks, and it's like, oh, that was scary, and the mum's like, oh, you could have killed yourself, you could have broken your neck, if you landed the wrong way, and like Uncle Charlie's just watching, and she's like, oh, it's like dun 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 dun.
Yeah, right? You ever trying to check in the step and how it was put back together.
And we're at this point we're building up to like him giving a speech. Uncle Charlie's going to make a speech for the mum's women's club.
It's all the housewives.
It was never too specific as to what that was. It was just kind of like, yes, young wealthy gentleman can come and gives a talk. And his big plan is to have her suffocate in the garage. He's got the car turned on. He sort of like lures her in there, and sort of, because we find out it's set up earlier on that the door kind of sticks and won't open. We also see that he actually kind of blocks it as well with a twig.
It gives it a little helping hand, but it's plausible enough that it was stuck because they all know this is a thing that happens with this door.
Yes. And this is what I love about the dad's friend, is that they kind of like, he finally becomes super relevant in the plot, because what Uncle Charlie didn't account for is that he might randomly show up, because in the house he's turning up the music so no one can hear her scream for help, and he's making sure that the window's closed again so the audio is not coming in as well. He's doing everything he can to make sure no one will notice that she's out there crying for help, and it's just that the dad's friend happens to be almost invading the house, as he always does, kind of unwanted. That he's
just like, oh, I think there's someone in the garage.
Yeah, so he gets them to go and help, and that's kind of your big set piece at the end. Now, of course, He does actually make a speech at the party after this. Or sorry, he makes a speech off camera, but I mean he does like a sort of toast at this like after party at the house, and basically it shows that we see this happen, of course, but Charlie's found the ring, so she's got the evidence. So she comes down wearing the ring, and he actually
stops in mid sentence when he sees it.
Mid toast, he announces that he's going to leave, and he wasn't going to do that. He wanted to stay here. But he's doing this because this was sort of the plea that he made with Charlie. Charlie's like, no, I just want you to leave and never come back, and I won't turn you in, kind of thing. But of course, Uncle Charlie, when he's at the train the next day, at the end of the movie, he tries to kill her and throw her off the train. And he's just waiting for the train to go fast enough. But she's able to kind of like sort of get past him, which makes him trip off, and he falls out of the train as a train's, the adjacent track, there's a train coming the other way. So he meets his end. Untimely.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, it took all my willpower earlier not to make a joke about this when you said being thrown under the bus. I was like, don't say a joke about being thrown under the train, don't do it, it's still spoiler free.
No spoilers yet, no,
but I just wanted to know that so much effort that took.
So what's interesting is that, again, when she like comes down the stairs with the ring and he stops his toast and says he's going to leave, it really breaks her mother's heart. And we can see in Charlie's face that she does have a legit reason for not wanting to reveal who he is, because it will destroy her mother. So he actually dies and they have a funeral for him as if he's a hero. They don't know what he did, and Charlie keeps it to herself, really for her mother's sake.
Because what's the point anymore, right? He's dead. What more?
He's not going to hurt anyone else, so she's not saving anyone by revealing it now.
Yeah, the police think they've found someone who it is, so they're not looking for someone, forever.
Yeah, absolutely,
so,
yeah. And for the record, this guy had already met his untimely demise. If they were still looking for him and he died after this, I'd say that's on her, because she didn't stop the
sure.
But it already happened, so whatever.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, and the movie ends, and there's lots of fun stuff. I really like the sequence when the detectives posing to be the census takers come in. I love the moment where they snap a photo of Uncle Charlie, and he's like, I'll have to get that film. Like the way he looks at them as soon as they snap the photo is great.
Yeah, and you kind of know what's going on here because he doesn't argue. He's like, all right, fine, here's the role. So obviously you're kind of fairly sure already that it was that was a spare that he's handed him.
Yeah, the old trick. The old, give us your videotapes, you can't film here. Okay, I'll give you a blank tape. There you go.
Exactly.
The old thing. I also just love the photographer getting really pissed off at the mum because they want, like, at least pretending they want a photo of her cracking an egg for making a cake. He's like, no, I can't do that first. You're going to have to stand there. You're going to have to wait do these other steps. And then I'll crack an egg. And then you can go and do this part. And then this and that.
And then because he allegedly gave away his last roll of film, he hasn't got any more. So it's like, we'll have to come back tomorrow. And she's like, well, now, I'm not baking more cakes tomorrow. I've got things to do. I can't be baking cakes every day of the week.
Yeah. She's just she's been the typical old woman.
Yeah.
And being just kind of a little bit frustrating for these characters. But hey. So, no, good fun stuff. I enjoy the movie a lot. I think Uncle Charlie is very despicable. Every time he's like watching for someone's reactions, or he's slyly doing something, or he thinks he's getting away with something, it's not very good. But what I was saying earlier, though, is that he's so single-minded that when he starts to try and kill Charlie, what does he think is going to happen if Charlie dies, especially in the train? Like, that's like a clear, like, I mean, it's okay, you can argue she's tripped and fell over the train, but she wasn't even meant to be on the train. He kind of like holds her on because she's meant to get off before it leaves. Like,
yeah, just say she I mean, his defense is at that point, oh, I thought she'd left already. She must have got caught up and fallen off.
I feel like if Charlie turns up dead, and we have this detective who, admittedly, the case has been dropped by the time we got to this point in the movie, but if Charlie turns up dead, you have to imagine he's going to be like, something fishy about this.
You would think, wouldn't you?
Yes.
But, I mean...
So I guess what I'm saying is I don't think Charlie, or Uncle Charlie rather, thinks ahead too much. He's very much always just reacting to the obstacle right in front of him.
He is. I think he's just a bit desperate at that point as,
okay,
she knows and I can't have that. So it's just whatever it takes to shut her up.
Yeah, and I think the heart of the film as well is the I think there's a little bit of depth here. I think it's about Charlie. It's kind of that thing, right? This idea of like, obviously she's a bit older, but she's still meant to be the young, impressionable one. She's the young one who's excited that her uncle's coming to visit. I think this movie is kind of about growing up too fast, to an extent, or maybe not exactly that, but the whole thing where kids kind of like, oh, regular life is boring, I want something exciting, or even maybe even like teenagers who want to go out and do extreme things because they're young and they want to do wild things, but ultimately, like, by the time we're all a bit older, we're like, no, we kind of like having a quiet, reliable life that's dependable.
I think that's probably true, and I think that's why the little sister is funnier in in through that viewpoint, in that she's already an old woman.
Yeah. But I think that's what the movie's getting at, this idea that she's asking for this adventure, but she gets too much. I guess it's kind of like, a teenager going and doing something extreme that's actually very dangerous, and a lot of them will get away with it, but every so often one will, have an accident or fall in with the wrong people because they do something risky or something like that. This is kind of like the parable version of that. She wants the excitement, she wants something big to happen, but then it becomes very dangerous, and it kind of does make her grow up too quick. I think Charlie at the end of this film has went through this and has had to grow up because of this experience, because now she's having to, basically make this big life choice and fighting back and not letting him away with it. And so I guess it's kind of, I mean, this is a weird, I don't want to say it's actually doing this exactly, but just to sort of the idea of a teenager becoming pregnant, and this idea of just having to grow up quicker than you're supposed to, because life just, you have to just be that responsible now. And I don't think it's directly paraboling that, but I think there's a correlation to slightly be made, this idea that she goes through this thing and she has to grow up quicker in a way that she shouldn't have had to.
I think it's more of a I don't think the pregnancy analogy quite works, because I think there is she has a desire to go and do something.
Oh yeah. No, I mean, I agree. I think what I said before that was more accurate. I just, it came in my head.
No, I'm with you.
But yeah, don't wish for crazy excitement. It's that maybe you actually want a nice, normal, stable life. Maybe she'll appreciate it now.
Yeah, because the whole time she's insisting, oh, we're not a normal American family, or average American family, I think was the phrase. We've got tons of things going on, and by the end, she's kind of like, no, average American family sounds fine.
Yes. Yeah, and she's got her new boyfriend, a detective, who might want to marry her, and they can go off. And
yeah, I think that's probably the weakest part of the movie, is that relationship, because they have like 3 scenes together, maybe.
Yeah, no, it is for sure. Yeah, they don't need to be a relationship. Like, I think, and to be fair, the stuff on the date's fine, because the stuff on the date is more about him wanting to talk to her about her uncle and open up the case and, like, pose the moral debate, the moral dilemma for her about, choosing to protect him or turn him in because she knows it's the right thing to do. I think the only problem really is the scene where he comes back to say he's leaving because the case is closed, and he says, "Oh, I love you, Charlie." Like, that scene you could probably just cut for the most part, and the movie
pretend that he left.
Yeah. And then the final scene where because he just happens to be the one she's talking to, that she could have been on her own for that scene, like, or or just narrating even.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, wouldn't have lost anything.
Yeah, but I mean, it doesn't bog the movie down though, and it doesn't ever feel like it's
because, like I say, it is literally only 3 scenes. So,
and the first one even would work even if it wasn't going down the romantic path. It's like that was just the ruse to get her on on her own to talk to her.
So, I mean, it's not the worst, but I wanted to mention how it was definitely kind of just obligatory romance plot. Sure.
But I mean, far from the only movie to be guilty of the obligatory romance.
Oh, absolutely. Plot. But, we do not leave them uncalled in any of them.
No. So, that is Shadow of a Doubt. And that's kind of, what the title comes from is Uncle Charlie needing to know beyond a shadow of a doubt that he's not going to be found out, and that's why he has to kill Charlie.
Yeah.
So there you go. Hitchcock, great movie. I'm a little higher than Connor's apparently, but we'll find out just how much, because Connor's going to rate it out of 10.
I am. I'm going to give this a very solid 8 out of 10. Very, very good. Very enjoyable. It's great. Couple of little things that just didn't quite add up at the end. Just didn't capitalize on enough. But I mean, yeah, it's great.
Okay, I'm going to go just a nudge higher and go with 8.5. I think It's an extremely great film, and it's, you know, I like it more than some other films that I think are a tad overrated from Hitchcock's library, but not as much of his best. And, you know, there's definitely, you know, and it's Hitchcock, so there's definitely some, you know, obviously I'd give Psycho and Rear Window 10s. There's definitely some 9s in Hitchcock's library as well that are between this and them, but I think this is really high in my, this is definitely in my top 10 Hitchcock. It's entirely possible once I see enough of them, it'll go out of the top 10 just because there's so many that are great.
Because it's not that high into the top 10.
I mean, it's, you know, somewhere in the middle, the top 10. I'd have to look at the list and sort them. Maybe once we do a bunch of Hitchcock films, we can do a list at some point.
Yeah, I think that'll be good after we've done like 10 or 12 of them on the show.
Oh, absolutely. I'd like to even see some that I've not seen before as well, just to...
Yeah.
I'd like to have seen like 30, 35 of these films, and then I can... But okay, here's my top 10 Hitchcock
movies.
Then
it means something, doesn't it?
Yeah, so... There you go. That is Shadow of a Doubt. You can, of course, let us know what you think of the film in the comments below. You can like and subscribe, and you can ding the bell on YouTube to get the notifications at all times for not only this show but everything we do on MailFuzz TV. You can, of course, support us, like I say, by rating the podcast, the audio podcast version on Apple Podcasts. Give us 5 stars. It means they, you know, spread us out a little bit more, put us on the rankings, blah blah blah. More people find us is basically the point, so that helps us out a lot. As does, of course, sharing us on Twitter or sharing us wherever. You can get us on Twitter at mild_fuzz, and of course in the middle we did talk about patreon.com if you want to support us financially. You can also support us financially if you want to show up to one of my live streams, and you can donate that way if you want as a one-time thing. But that is the show, and that is it. So we'll be back next week. This was 2 in a row. I want to point out we did do 2 in a row, 2 weeks in a row. Let's make it 3. We'll see next week for the next Patreon vote winner, and I can't remember off the top of my head what it is. I think it may be Crimson Tide. I don't know if that's the next one though. That was one of them. I think it may be next. Connor's checking.
It is, yes.
Yes, there you go. So we're doing a submarine film next week with Gene Hackman and Denzel Washington.
What's not to love?
Yeah. Have you seen this before?
No.
I have, so I'm not going to say anything because I'll keep my opinion on lockdown for till then. But that has been 121 in Flux, so thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching movies, guys, and if you can get it, it's always nice to have diplomatic immunity.